Jim Harbaugh, you know this, Tim, has yet to beat Ohio State as Wolverines head coach, but Ohio State is a 14-point underdog at home. Are you surprised by this line?
No, not really, because the way that they've played the last couple of weeks, Michigan has looked very good. Ohio State has looked just average. But you need to step back before you bet on this game, because in rivalry games, anywhere he's been, Ohio State and Urban Meyer have been dominant. When we were together in Florida, 11-1 in rivalry games. At Ohio State, he hasn't lost to Michigan. And by the way, this is everything for Michigan. This is their game. If they don't beat Ohio State now, then win. It might not happen. So all the pressure is going to be on Michigan. It's their time. It's their season. Their defense is together. Their coach is fired up. They finally got a quarterback. But what happens when the pressure sinks in the second half and they realize like it might be slipping away? Look for pressure to be a big part in this game and Urban to be able to pull out some trick plays to give their team the advantage.
Tim, we talk about the pressure that's on Jim Harbaugh, and it's undeniable as far as I'm concerned. This is the best chance. You got an opportunity to be in the college football playoffs. If you lose this game, you might be out. All the pressure is on the line for Jim Harbaugh, who's never beaten Ohio State. But what about the players themselves? I mean, I'm looking at guys, like Shea Patterson. Higdon's rushed for over 1,000 yards. He's averaging better than 5 yards a carry. This defense is supposed to be big time or what have you. But because it's the Ohio State, I'm wondering if the same pressure their coach feels is transferable to those players. What do you say about that?
Of course, a pressure from a coach will transfer to their players. If a coach is tight, players have more of a tendency to be tight. But the one thing I will say, an advantage for Michigan, defense travels. And this defense is nasty, and they will travel. But what happens if they give up a couple big plays early in the game because they play nonstop man-to-man coverage? So you know Urban has been dialing up all year a couple of plays he's been saving in his back pocket just for Michigan. Because regardless of what Urban wants to say, rivalry games are bigger. And this game is bigger than any other game they will play this season. That's how he looks at it. That's how his team will look at it. That's how you train. When I was together with Urban and Mickey, their strength coach, and we would train getting ready for a season, we would train for Tennessee, Georgia, and FSU, the 3 rivalry games. You know who they train for right now at Ohio State? It's Michigan. That game is bigger than anything else. Look for them to have some tricks up their sleeve for it.
But meantime, it's sort of a consolation prize this year, considering expectations that those teams come into the season with because of Alabama's dominance, right? Like, what is it going to take for the Big Ten can they compete with the SEC in the long run? Can they compete, one of these teams, with Alabama, one of these programs?
Well, you know what, Max, we thought coming into this year, or a lot of people thought that this was going to be the Big Ten's year. Penn State was going to be good. Michigan was going to be good. Ohio State was going to be good. They were going to compete from top to bottom with the SEC. I think it's been a little bit of a disappointment for the Big Ten, but they still have a chance. The winner of this game has a chance to win the Big Ten, go to the college football playoff if they look good doing so, and maybe be able to upset an Alabama or a Clemson. So everything is still in front of them, but I would say I think it's been disappointing so far for the Big Ten this year.
Tim, one last question on this game.
No, go ahead, Molly. Go ahead. Okay. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, all good. One last question here. With Jim Harbaugh and Urban Meyer, how big of a game is this for both of them? Because we know what everyone was saying about Jim Harbaugh. Obviously, he's turned the program around a little bit of late. They've been playing well. And you know all the transgressions that Urban Meyer and that program have dealt with. So this game specifically, what does it mean?
I think it means more to Jim Harbaugh than it does to Urban Meyer. I think whatever happens in this game, Urban Meyer will still be the second best coach in college football. It's Nick Saban, it's Urban Meyer, it's Dabo Swinney, then it's Jimbo Fisher, in my opinion. All 4 of them have championships. Nick Saban has a bunch, then Urban has 3. The rest have 1. For Jim Harbaugh, he's not close to that yet. This is the biggest game for him since the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens and his brother. This is it for him, because if he's able to finally knock off Urban Meyer and Ohio State, then he's going to have an opportunity to say, look, that's an established win. That's a big-time win. We're here to stay. If they don't, they've missed their window, and it doesn't look good for the future.
Tim Tebow, when you look at Urban Meyer and the kind of year that he's had because of the controversy with his assistant coach and all that he let go of, then he comes back. They get blown out by 29 against Purdue. You've got people looking at him on the sideline. They say he's not standing up straight. You know, he's kneeling over a little bit because we're bringing up those health issues, which he himself felt compelled to address because obviously he's not in stellar health. When you take all of those things into consideration, a loss like this to Michigan, if he loses this game to Michigan, could you see it being one of those scenarios where Urban Meyer, your former coach, could end up walking away?
I don't think he wants to walk away yet. He loves coaching. He loves being able to spend this time with his family and coach, being at a university that he loves. I do think if they lose to Michigan, it will be a really disappointing part in a very tough year. It has obviously had its lows and its disappointments and its heartaches in this season. And if they were to fall to Michigan, I think that would just be one more low. But also, if they could get a win in this game, it could kind of change everything. They could get a Big Ten victory and maybe still go to the playoff if they look good enough doing so. And so I think for both of these teams, everything is hanging in the balance. Mm-hmm. It's the reputation of Jim Harbaugh. It's be able to save the season for Coach Meyer. Everything is on the line here. That's why it's such a big game. Not just, and we're kind of forgetting, there are a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds that this is everything for them too. I mean, guys, this is one of the biggest games of the season and one of the biggest games in the last few, in my opinion.